Hi, it's me, Karen, from The Journey Girl, and I'm coming to you today from back of the beyond up here in Ferry County, Washington. This weekend is Memorial Day, and Memorial Day traditionally is the start of the summer picnic season. And if there is one food that I have to have for a picnic, it is baked beans. Now there's 100 ways, there's as many ways to cook baked beans as there are beans in the package. But my favorite way is traditional New England style baked beans, or otherwise known as Boston baked beans. The difference with that is, with a Boston baked bean, there is no tomato product involved at all. It gets its flavor from onions, salt pork, and molasses and sugar. So here's how we're going to start. I have already cooked my beans, and there's two ways that you can do that. You can soak them overnight in 6 cups of water and then bring them to a boil and cook them, or you can do as I did this morning, which was I did a quick soak method, which is I put the beans, this is 1 pound of dry navy beans, put it in the kettle with 6 cups of water and a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. I brought it to a boil. I cooked it for 2 minutes only, turned the heat off, covered it, and let it set for 1 hour. At the end of 1 hour, I drained the beans and I reserved the liquids because we're going to use these to cook the beans in the oven with. So to get started here, I have a 1/3 cup of unsulfured dark molasses. I'm going to pour it into this little bowl here. I want to get, there we go, as much as we can. I have a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of dry mustard powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir just to get it started here. Now to this, I'm going to add about 1 cup of my reserved bean cooking liquid. Just a little bit more. That wasn't quite a cup. Going to give this a little stir just to get it to combine a little bit. There we go. Now I have here 8 ounces of salt pork, which I have chopped up, and I have ½ of a large onion, which I'm going to leave whole because these beans are going to be slow cooking, and by the time these beans are done cooking, this onion is going to disappear into the baked beans. So now I'm going to take my bean pot. I'm going to add my beans to it. The ones that don't go on the floor. Oh, come on, you know what happens. My videographer is throwing beans at me. There we go. You can cook this in any covered casserole dish. As long as you've got a good cover that's tight fitting, that's no problem at all. But I like my little bean pot. I think it looks official. Now I'm going to stir in my salt pork. That one got away from me. Okay, now I'm going to add my molasses mixture. And I want to get every bit of that in here. Since this is the only sweetener that we're using, I want to make sure I have all that I can get in there. I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir. All right, now I'm going to take my onion, I'm just going to set that right in the middle. There we go. Now once again, I'm going to take about another cup of my reserved bean cooking liquid and pour it over the top. We want it to basically cover the beans. We want to use enough to cover the beans so that the beans are underneath the liquid. Now I have preheated my oven to 300 degrees and I'm going to cover the beans, put this in the oven, and they're going to bake slowly for 2 hours. Now at the end of that 2 hours, I'm going to take the beans back out, give them a stir, and put another, 1.5, maybe even 2 cups of cooking liquid back on these beans. And again, I want to keep the beans submerged in the liquid. They go back in the oven for another 1.5 to 2 hours, at which time they're done. Now, it may be a long cooking time, but once they're in the oven, you don't have to do anything about it, and they come out absolutely delicious. So I'll see you in a few. Okay, my beans have been cooking for 2 hours now, so I've got them out of the oven. Take the lid off. Oh, they smell absolutely wonderful. All right, you can see into the bean pot here, you can see that the onion has started to disintegrate. It is, the beans are starting to take on the color of the molasses liquid. There we go. All right, so for the last step here, I've got the remaining reserved cooking liquid from when I initially cooked the beans. So I'm just going to pour that into my pot. That should be plenty of liquid here. So I used about 1.5 cups. Give this a good stir. The beans are back underneath the cooking liquid. So I'm putting the top back in, and this goes in the oven again at 300 degrees for another 2 hours, and then they will be cooked to perfection. All right, our beans are done. Oh, they smell amazing. You can see the pieces of salt pork. They're nice and juicy. And in just a second, I'm going to show you how we're going to serve them up. And dinner is served. Tonight it's barbecue chicken, fresh asparagus from our garden, New England baked beans, otherwise known as Boston baked beans. You know, cooking should be fun. You should enjoy it. You should be laughing when you're cooking. I mean, people that don't like to cook, it's because they don't have fun doing it. They think it's serious, and it's not serious. Cooking, I mean, people make mistakes, we all do, but it's all part of the process. So anyway, that's tonight's dinner. And if you're having a bad day, I picked these flowers for you. Our lilac trees are in bloom. The aroma is out of this world. So if you like this video, you know how to hit that subscribe button. And also go to www.thejourneygirl.com, my website. And until next time, journey on.